Hi, everyone. I know that the show is winding down, so thanks for everyone who actually made it today. So I'm Helena Stone. I'm the editor-in-chief of Chute. And if you've had a moment to actually read the description for this panel, it's very interesting because the description says that the industry is being renamed from the digital imaging industry to the consumer imaging industry. And I think that's very reflective of the amount of change that's happening in this industry. And what's great about the four guys here today is that each one of them are really instrumental in that change. So I'd like to introduce, first, over here we have Chris Chute, and he's the research director over at IDC. Then we have Mark Sherengo. Did I do it right? Did I say it right? All right, score. He's the director of sales over at Ricoh Imaging. And then we have Stephen Tiffin, the president and CEO of the Tiffin Company. And finally, Tim DeBrincat. Nice. All right, and he's the director of marketing over at olloclip. So just to start off, I'd love if we can just go through and everyone can introduce themselves as far as their role in their company and how it relates to digital imaging today.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Chute. So for the past 14 years, I've been covering the digital imaging market. When I started in about 1999, the market was called digital cameras and photo printing. And there's been just a huge sea change over the years as digital imaging technology has proliferated into phones and all sorts of different devices. So I conduct a lot of user surveys and a lot of forecasting for different types of products in the market.
Hi, I'm Mark Sherengo with Ricoh Imaging. I think I grew up in this business. I worked for the National Football League as a photographer for 13 years. I helped with the first digital transmitted image. Was part of Fuji's transformation from film to digital imaging. Then I work now with Ricoh, who just purchased Pentax, a photography brand, and are relaunching during a time when the digital imaging market has seen a decline. So it's exciting times to see how digital imaging is going to be part of the future. And being part of the past of all the changes, I'm really looking forward to what the future is going to bring.
Steve Tiffin with the Tiffin Company. We're an accessories manufacturer for all types of imaging devices, whether they be smartphones, digital cameras, or motion picture and television capture devices. We manufacture our products under a multitude of brands: Tiffin filters, Steadicam camera stabilizing systems, Lowell lighting, Domke camera bags, Davison Sanford tripods, just to name a few. Company's been around for 75 years. I take vitamins, so it helps. Second generation in the business, so I definitely grew up in the business. And we're actually more excited about our industry today than we have ever been in the history of our company. So looking forward to some really great things and really exciting things.
All right, my name's Tim DeBrincat. I'm the marketing director over at olloclip. We are a mobile photography accessories company. So a little over 3 years ago, we basically pioneered a completely new category for starting with the smartphone industry and created lens attachments that would function similar to the way a DSLR camera functions and giving you just various tools to really take advantage of the camera that you really use more often than any camera on the planet right now. So telephoto lenses, wide angle, fisheye, macro lenses, really trying to make it as simple as possible, as compact as possible, and as readily available as you can.
Right. So, Chris, I know that you just recently finished working on the worldwide connected digital camera forecast for 2014 through 2018. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what the forecast says about where the digital camera market is heading and how it's changing.
Sure. So, if we go back in time a little bit, the market used to be about discrete categories. So we had, a video camera category, we had a compact camera category, and a DSLR category. We had accessory categories. And what we found over time is, with the emergence of, mobility and also cloud solutions and applications, a lot of these categories are merging and changing. So one of the findings from the Connected Camera Report was that generally most standalone camera vendors have been slow to adopt to these changes. And what we're starting to see, at least in the past year, is an acceleration in terms of adopting LTE, Wi-Fi, and NFC technology inside standalone cameras. So taking the bleeding edge image quality these devices still produce and allowing them to connect to other devices in a consumer's personal wireless ecosystem. But at the same time, I think what the industry still has to do moving forward is to articulate, what is their place in the mobile market. Because what's happened is the ball has sort of shifted in the consumer's mind from image quality first, photo printing, and being able to share memories, to image quality taking us a back seat to being able to share my content literally instantaneously with the entire world. So I think there is some change happening on the traditional side of the market, but it's something that I think is still a story still being told.
And Mark, so you're working with Pentax now, and how would you say that traditional camera vendors like yourself are responding to these changes in the market?
Well, we're adapting, as Chris mentioned, to a lot of the technology. The sharing is huge for a consumer, something that doesn't share. So a lot of the manufacturers, including ourselves, are adapting to the Wi-Fi technology, the sharing instantaneously. One of the things that we're trying to get out of is the megapixel war, because megapixels don't mean photography. Photography is the creation of light. So as an industry, we've done a pretty poor job from the 90s on talking about specs. What we're trying to do now is, as mentioned by Chris, is talk about the quality of a photo, how you get that quality of photo, and then how you can share it. So your phone is always with you. You'll capture food, you'll capture pictures, but we also realize there's a lot of memories from the young people that are not being actually stored and shared. So what we're trying to do is show the difference between a photograph that is a memory, baby's birth, the wedding, kind of like in the old film days. You only brought your SLR with you when there was a memory to make. I think we're headed back that way because of the sharing of the mobile devices. So we just want to provide products that actually help them capture great photos.
So basically you're saying that you're working very hard to adapt to that change?
Yes.
And so Tim, you on the other hand, you guys are kind of like the anti-traditional vendors. Your product's an accessory that, but I mean that's how I see it. You're the new side of the consumer digital imaging industry. So how are you responding to this change?
It's really, I mean, you look at, and with us, we never see ourselves being a replacement for a really high-end professional SLR camera. It's just not realistic. But you look at the trends and how many photographs people are taking and the devices that they're using to take them, it seems almost natural that you would want to have the same options to capture those memories and those experiences. And I mean, social media is obviously the biggest conduit for what we do, and it's really, for us, it's important to, one, of course, give people different options, but be able to show them not really the technical side, but the easy side of it. So the megapixels thing, for sure, I totally agree. Like it's out of control. I mean, now you have these upwards of 20 megapixel cameras, but I mean, who's really going to print photos that big? And it's about the quality. So you look at the iPhone 5S and the Galaxy S5, like they have beautiful cameras built into them. So it's really helping people maximize what you're able to do with those particular devices and really take advantage of technology. So
really, what you're doing, you're creating accessories to enhance your products, to enhance products, and which is also what you're doing, Steve, right? You're also, I mean, big part of what Tiffin does is enhancing already established digital imaging products. So I imagine that there must be a lot of challenge when it comes to educating consumers to make them understand why they need those accessories. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of challenges you see?
Yeah, education on how to take a great picture is probably the single biggest challenge that's facing the industry. I'm a member of the executive board of the Consumer Electronics Association. We're actually working on a consumer imaging campaign and an awareness campaign right now to bring the consumers some awareness of the things and the products that are out there to help them improve the work that they're doing. Is something that CEA is doing to help the industry, especially the DI, the digital imaging side of it, which I guess we're changing to consumer imaging sometime soon. It's news to me, but that's good. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the challenge is a challenge that both the manufacturers and retailers have to share. We were really fortunate to have one of our accessory products just included in a recent Apple commercial. Oh, wow. And the fallout of that is just the amount of awareness that's come from it is just enormous. And so, if retailers can actually promote not only the cameras and the hardware devices that capture the image, but the accessories that go along to improve it at the same time, the cost is zero, and the benefit is the consumers now start asking questions. What is that? What is that about? And so these are things that I think will benefit both the consumer and the retailers and the industry alike. The interesting part about accessories is it's really the key that makes the difference between a great photograph and a snapshot or a picture. You know, professionals understand certain elements. They understand framing, they understand the light, they understand certain positioning things. These are simple elements, and they also understand the accessories that they need to help them get it. A great photographer once told me two interesting quotes from photographers. One was, if you want to take a better picture, shoot something more interesting. Right. That was one. And the other one was, the only reason why great photographers are so great is they're crazy enough to wait long enough to get the shot right. And there are little tips and tricks that people can gain to learn how to take a better picture and learn the accessories that can assist them in doing that. And then when consumer satisfaction goes up on the quality of the images they take, they'll continue to want to learn more, educate more, and buy more products to help them do that. So it's a healthy cycle.
And just to add to that, for a lot of years as competitors in the old photography regime, we competed. And with this changing revolution, the competition has to go away, and there has to be the education of what it really means to own a DSLR or to own a full-frame camera, or own a mirrorless camera. The consumers right now don't understand the value because they're taking billions of images with a camera phone. Right. So the education has to start as, why do I need this? Reverse, we were competing for the people who wanted it. We have to get together and introduce them to what a great tool it is.
And Tim, I mean, what do you find that giving people a hands-on experience with your product really makes a difference?
Absolutely, and I think that's why you see us at a lot of events like this. There really is that wow moment when you grab someone's phone and show them that the macro lens for us is the one that you zoom in on like a piece of carpet and they're like, oh my God, I get it. And you can see the moment that it clicks that they're like, wow, this is really something that that I can use, that I can create like beautiful moments with, and really showcase kind of insight to my life. So for us, we really, I mean, the social media aspects of it is really where I think most of our consumers share their photography, and so it's easy for them to kind of.
You can sit wherever you want. Okay, I didn't know I got to sit. Yay.
Right down there. You can sit if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. Most people have been sitting.
Most people have been sitting.
And I didn't get to. Oh, and here's. Hey, Steve. I'm Andrea Smith. Nice to see you. I'm good, thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Good to see you. Hello. Nice to see you. Yes. Hi. We emailed back and forth a few times.
That's right. Nice to meet you in person.
Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Good. I think we.
Hello. Okay, so gosh, we've gone from 3D printing, augmented reality, robotics, and now we've got digital imaging. Lots of stuff here on the show floor today having to do with digital imaging, so I give to you Helena Stone from Chute.
Hi, everyone. I know that the show is winding down, so thanks for everyone who actually made it today. So I'm Helena Stone. I'm the editor-in-chief of Chute, and if you've had a moment to actually read the description for this panel, it's very interesting because the description says that
the different products a given vendor has. And you know, we talk here about, you know, SLRs, we talk about the olloclip technology. Consumers really want at this point to have different types of unique experiences, and they're willing to spend money on that, whether it's hardware or software or, you know, monthly service. So the companies that can create those experiences and really design an experience up front and then see how it translates back into, you know, a particular piece of hardware, an accessory, a particular type of camera, are the ones that are going to have the stickiest products and the ones that, frankly, are going to be carried by retailers.
And Steve, so changing the subject a little bit, but you know, speaking of products that retailers embraced and just products that consumers embraced, I don't know if anybody remembers a flip camcorder. But you know, not too long ago, it was like the biggest fad. It was super successful, crazy successful. And if anyone's been reading the news, you know, GoPro just announced like record profits for their action cam, and everybody's trying to copy them and, you know, do similar products like them. My question for you is your opinion, since you've been in this industry for, you know, a few months. Do Do you think that it's just a fad? Do you think that GoPro, do you think it's a technology that will fade away quickly, or do you think that they actually have a chance at lasting in this industry?
Well, Nick Woodman's a really bright guy, and when you look at investing in companies, you invest in the people that run them, and I don't know that I would bet against him. He's a really smart guy who had a vision and an idea. They went public today. The stock was up like 30-something% in trading, and they're all very happy and successful. But I guess to more answer your question, being in the business for 75 years, we've seen lots of fads, okay? And we've seen things that have come and gone. And we're always never surprised when the new technology takes hold and just takes us off into a new direction. What people forget is that decades ago, not that long ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, the #1 selling camera in the world was the little throwaway camera, a category they called OTUCs, one-time use cameras. The little box cameras that you had on the wedding tables that had the roll of film inside, you rolled that. It was the #1 selling camera in the world. So when that camera went away, the only thing that filled that void when digital cameras came in was the compact camera. The compact camera was being sold at a rate because the smartphone quality wasn't there. The compact camera filled that void. So the one-time use camera was eaten up by the compact camera business. That was an artificial spike in that market because we knew when Apple introduced the iPhone about, 8 years ago, they were basically going to improve the quality of those cameras and the technology in those smartphones. And that was going to become the one-time use, portable camera of the future. What GoPro has done is completely different. And if you read their investment prospectus, it's very interesting. They are not announcing themselves as a action camera hardware company. They're announcing themselves as a media company. They are going to create a lifestyle business that is very, very interesting. They are very much along the lines of a Red Bull model. They are creating an environment and an experience with which people can go and enjoy their life and do a biography of their life using GoPro products. And Nick was on TV today saying that they're going to create a GoPro channel down the road where they will actually allow people to broadcast their action sports and lifetime experiences and be able to effectively be either a YouTube or another delivery method to get these images out and supply you with the hardware to be able to do that. So really innovative idea, and I think that kind of, they raised $427 million today, so I have a feeling it's a fad that's going to be around for a little while. Right. So I'm really excited about that, and what we must do as an imaging industry is embrace this stuff. And what I like when I hear the heads of Canon and Nikon and these traditional companies talk about the new technologies that are going on, they are insistent that we embrace these things. I mean, one of the things we on the CEA board, we have members of all the traditional imaging companies, and when we talk about new technology panels and discussions and things like this, one person said, well, we'll leave out the smartphone guys because they're really competing with you camera guys. I said, whoa. Absolutely not. If we don't embrace this, we are doomed by it. We have to embrace it, understand it, figure out how to go out there and get consumers to understand the value in our products and what we offer. And as an accessory company, business school, they taught us, don't pick a side in the war, just supply the ammunition. So we're happy. We just supply the ammunition. We don't care what platform they're shooting on. We supply the ammunition. So
that's great. And Mark, so what category specifically are you seeing doing better and better?
Well, for the hardware part of the business that we focus on, it's the high-end compact. Something that we're doing interesting is introducing spherical photography, so it's not 360. It's a one capture device. A phone can't do it now. A camera can't do it. We're offering, I guess, options that are not part of a traditional photography company, but are our capture device. One thing we know, GoPro is going to be around if they change. They never sold the product. They sold the content. And that's, if you see, the gold standard from any marketing company now is they're trying to sell content, not product. We added customization. So for years, all you had was a black SLR. Today, you can buy 120 different colors. For years, medium format was part of a professional's life. But for the last 10, it was out of reach financially. We're offering medium format at the full frame price almost. So there's different things that we're doing to get the consumer interested in a different type of photography, along with the billions of people who are taking pictures. The thing we're excited about is 10 years ago, if you saw a 10-year-old person, they weren't taking a picture. But now, a 10-year-old can take 200 50 pictures today. If they want to develop that skill to a level, companies need to be there to give them the tools to develop that skill.
You know, we had a very inefficient business model. You know, the average number of rolls of pictures in a roll of film was 24, and the average number of pictures that the consumer liked was 1 or 2.
That's true.
So all of the money went to, with great regard to the Kodaks and the Fujis of the world, went to the film companies and the processing companies, because you had to go and take those pictures, process those pictures, buy the film, but the value to the consumer was horrible.
That's true.
Today, the only pictures that consumers use are the ones they like. The ones they share are the ones they like. And they have the ability to eliminate the ones they don't, disregard them, get rid of them, do what they want to do. It's a much more efficient business model, and actually leaves dollars available for sales of hardware and accessories and equipment that used to be wasted on tons and tons of pictures that people never used.
And saving the trees. So Chris, for what you're seeing on the research side, what category of digital imaging is doing the best right now?
Well, you know, obviously it's you know, what we would term mobile-first products. So essentially, hardware that's designed with connectivity and the ability to interact with consumers via cloud applications are doing very, very well. Tablets obviously are doing very, very well as well. But also there's pockets of opportunity still in what we would probably call the traditional imaging market. You know, mid to high-end DSLRs, you know, so the prosumer who's grown up with digital SLR technology at very reasonable price points over the past decade is still very much engaged with the category, and they're still generating lots of aftermarket sales. One of the challenges for the market is that you need to sort of re-articulate what the value proposition is for photography to those consumers who are taking snapshots with just mobile phones. So that's something that still needs to be addressed.
So you know, Tim, so you know, your business is obviously booming because people are using smartphones. And I think, you know, part of the drive for that is that people want to take better pictures with their smartphones. But why do you think it is that the smartphone makes people want to take better pictures?
I think we kind of nailed it with people take so many photos, and that's the great part about a smartphone is you just delete the ones you don't like. So I mean, the COO for our company, we were chatting yesterday, and he told me his daughter has taken 15,000 Snapchats. And when I was growing up, like you don't do that. Like you go outside and you play and you go fishing, but it's like a completely different generation. That I think people like the convenience of what's with them, but they also like that they can get a 64-gigabyte iPhone that'll hold thousands and thousands, and they keep the ones they want, and they just discard the ones they don't.
So you think for them it's the convenience that's driving that?
I think it's absolutely convenience. The one that's in your pockets. I mean, you never know when you're going to want to take a picture, and to know that thing's always with you, and it takes a decent quality shot. I mean, it's all about kind of that moment.
But products like the olloclip told the consumer there's information you're missing. There's pictures that you cannot capture with the device alone.
Right.
And so having wonderful accessories like this have actually opened the consumer's mind up to, wait a minute, is there more? What else could I be doing?
I did not pay for this statement, by the way.
So no, it's a big help to the rest of us in the business, because it's giving the consumer that mind's eye to say, wait a minute, I could get a wider shot, I can get a more close-up shot and have it be in focus. That's a powerful tool.
And so the big picture for digital imaging is there are more people taking pictures. And so there's different people that like different tools. There's more people that want to develop their skills to be higher. There's going to be other things that come out in the future that we talked about on the panel before that could affect imaging. So the nice thing about it is photographing whatever it is, to share it, capture it, make it a memory, print it, all those things are what people are interested in today. Never before have we seen this. Like we mentioned, when we were young, we weren't taking pictures. We were playing.
Right.
All our kids, if we have them, take pictures every day of everything that they can possibly do. And that could develop a love to do more, even if it's not a profession, but just take better quality pictures.
I know we touched on connected cameras, I'm curious to see what everybody's opinion is about the smart camera. So when I say the smart camera, I mean, you know, a camera running Android, running a smartphone OS, a camera with 4G built in, the really advanced cameras that are coming out onto the market. And a perfect example of that would be the Samsung NX series. They're making more and more of them running Android. So what's everyone's opinion about those cameras?
Yeah, so my opinion is that, you know, this was something that probably should have been more widely embraced, a little bit earlier by the mainstream industry. But as we start to move forward, obviously we're seeing a lot more connectivity being deployed. I guess my opinion about it is, if we understand that consumers have smartphones, tablets, and they use these in different ways to consume and share content, what's the role of a 4G LTE digital camera in that context? And I'm not necessarily convinced that you need to have that data plan just for that device. I'm more convinced that you can have that Wi-Fi camera or NFC camera interact with the devices you have already. And that's maybe a little bit more compelling and maybe a little bit more less costly to the average consumer than asking them to take on yet another 4G device.
Yeah, I agree with the cost has probably been the most limited thing for people. Parents who pay for all these devices don't want to add extra costs. If they can connect to the device that they're always using anyway, best way to capture a device and then use the device that they have. It's interesting, though, to see what's going to happen. Good friend of mine, Ron Gazzola, is in charge of that whole product that you mentioned. I work with him at Fuji. And it's the education part that still comes into play. What is the value add of having a connected device that's actually an Android camera? Is it really a serious camera or not? So the education of teaching people that stepping up from their phone versus their Android camera has to happen. How it happens has to be content to show the difference between the two. So there's a challenge there for that product. I think it has a future, like all the devices that are coming out. It's who brings the best value to the customer that says, I want it or I have to have it, is actually going to win.
I agree with Chris. I think the first statement I'd make is what took so long. Ultimately, this is what consumers want. They want to be able to take the image and do something with it easily. Whether it be a 4G LTE device or a Wi-Fi connected device or other methodology, the consumers will ultimately decide that. I think for professionals, people who are using their images for immediacy, paying for that particular mobile device to be available to broadcast those images wherever they want is a choice they probably make. For consumers, using their Wi-Fi enabled devices probably is sufficient. But at the end of the day, this is what is a huge game changer for the camera side of the business, because it will allow cameras to have the connectivity that smartphones have and give the ease of use and flexibility for that consumer to upload those images to wherever they would wish to share them, which is today the big divide between the smartphone and the independent digital camera.
Well, Tim, this is probably the toughest question for you, because you probably don't want them to succeed.
Yeah, and it's, I don't necessarily say that, because, who knows if it takes off. Our brand, we're an accessories brand. We could easily make lenses that adapt to those devices. So we are completely nimble, and being the ones who really introduce this category to the market, we have a full in-house design team that does everything all on site. So it's easy for us to adapt to trends. I think that the biggest challenges that they'll have is, again, the convenience and also the portability. And like Mark said, you really have to be able to show someone the difference in what you're getting between the two devices. And it's got to be plain and clear that it pries their cell phone out of their hand, that they're so familiar with shooting photos and using the apps and the After Effects to kind of retouch what they've shot, and then the ability to share it all off that device. It really has to be something that's a wow factor to get them to commit to carrying, again, like a separate device.
So, Tim, again, outside of your own product, are there any apps or just any new products, accessories that are part of digital imaging that you find are really cool, really innovative, that you're using all the time? Favorite app, something?
I love Tiffin Company. For me, I'm not a photographer by trade. My background is actually in the sports and action sports industry, and it's taking really technical products and merging them with a lifestyle consumer. So that's really where kind of the Hail Mary aligned with myself and olloclip. But I love even just what's the After Effects one that I use? I'm drawing a blank on it.
An app?
Yeah, it's an app. I'll come
Oh,
back
there's
to
so
me.
many
I'll
now.
remember.
But, but you do use like Snapseed?
Snapseed.
Oh, so you use Snapseed. Okay.
That's the one. Yeah. So Snapseed's so great. I mean, if you have a dark picture, it's super easy and it's like really consumer friendly to brighten it up, add a cool effect, and really, I mean, you can take what would normally be like a pretty bland photo and turn it into almost like a work of art. We've talked to some other guys. There's an app called Scene by some guys in the UK that does almost like 3D photos on an iPhone, and it's you kind of as you move, the photo kind of turns with you. So it's great to see people kind of taking different approaches to photography and really what you're able to do with your mobile phone.
And I think Snapseed's free, right?
Snapseed is free.
It's a Google product
Cool.
today. It was Nick, but they bought.
So what are you using?
I'm sorry?
So what like app?
And I love our olloclip app as well.
Oh, of course. So Steve, like, is there an app or an accessory outside of Tiffin that you love?
Well, I do use our photo effects app all the time, which is our photo after effects imaging
Your Snapseed
product, our Snapseed.
Oh, yeah, but outside of Tiffin.
So yeah, I'm a big Instagram user, so I do a lot with my family on Instagram. It's just easy. I travel a lot. It's the quickest way to me to tell everybody where I am. So just take a quick picture and they know what city I'm in and what I'm doing. I actually do like accessories, and so I do use all of our accessories in taking our images. We actually have filters and accessories for various smartphones.
Nice.
We have Steadicam devices for smartphones and GoPro cameras. I use a Canon DSLR, and I have a lot of accessories for that, lighting products that we use. And so there really are a breadth of products and accessories that are out there today. Our company spreads itself across many different categories, so most of those products that I use are our own that I enjoy, but we're thrilled. You know, when we came out with our photo effects app, there were 15 photo apps on the App Store.
Oh.
And so
you were really one of the first.
We were one of the first. And so it's interesting to see it grow and expand, and it's exciting. And you know, after all these years, we've got a new version 4 of our desktop software that's being launched this week, and the stuff just continues to sell and continues to grow, and it's an exciting part of the business. So the good news is there's tons of choice, and embrace the choice. You know, people say to me, you know, do I need this camera? Do I need that camera? Back in the 90s, the average consumer had anywhere from 3 to 4 different types of cameras. They had a DSLR in the house for the high-end stuff. They had a video camcorder in the house. They had a couple of point and shoots, and they definitely used the one-time use cameras. So I believe, personally, that people will always need multiple devices because they will have different applications, they will have different purposes. We're in sort of this no man's land right now where you have a connected device and a smartphone and an unconnected device and a digital camera. When that balances out, I think the world will then start exploring and looking for new devices. Last year at the Digital Imaging Symposium, which was held yesterday here in New York, but a year ago, the head of purchasing for digital imaging products from Amazon, Heather Cartwright, had announced that their research had proven that smartphone photography was leading to consumers' interest in higher levels of picture taking and awareness of higher-end cameras, and was driving sales of better quality cameras. That's a big data point, and something I think for all of us in the industry to embrace is that the smartphone is our entry level, it's our friend, embrace it, let's make and build accessories for it to make it better and grow it, and then as that consumer steps up, let's make sure we do our part to keep them excited about the business.
And Mark, what like any?
30,000 apps today. So I'm excited about the fact that there's enough people's interest to have a different app. We use different apps right now for connecting our cameras. That, I think, is important for a traditional camera company. On a personal level, there's an app called olloclip that I really like because photography is about making money. So early in my career, the reason I chose photography was I could make money, actually creating art. Today, it's kind of blurred because so much is shared. There's so much free content out there right now. This app allows you to take content, capture it, shoot yourself, like when my daughter just started working at American Eagle, that's how I found out about this app. You can take pictures of yourself wearing American Eagle clothes, and they'll post it on their website.
Wow.
And so they mix between professional and consumer saying, this is my clothes, this is the picture I took, and it's shared, and you're paid for it.
Oh.
So it's an app that I thought, young people think, I love to take pictures, I love clothes, I can make some money.
How much did your daughter make on that picture?
She works for them, so she makes nothing.
Oh, okay.
But she showed me on the website all the pictures. And to be honest, some of the pictures are better than the professional photographers because they're talking to their generation of why those shoes are cool or those jeans are hot. It's kind of a real mind. So that's why I love all the 30,000 apps that are out there. That one, though, when you can tie money to a young person, they're excited about it. Sure. I didn't.
And so, Chris, how about you?
Sure. So, this reminds me of the annual visit Adobe used to pay to our office to show us the latest version of Photoshop Elements. And every year, the whole goal was to increase usage rates by consumers by making, even the smallest feature easier and easier to understand and to use. And along comes, a 10 developer shop called Instagram. And essentially, the photo you take with your phone, I can be as creative as I feel a professional is. I can post it to the entire world or just to my friends and edit it and apply a filter in less than 30 seconds. That is a powerful statement of what all of our panelists have talked about in terms of the impact of mobility and how it's changed vendor dynamics, how products are sold, and how consumers are embracing different types of applications. So I would probably have to say Instagram has probably had the most profound effect.
A lot of Instagram fans here. I know myself, I'm obsessed with Instagram. It's the first thing I look at when I wake up and the last thing I look at when I go to sleep. So
I just saw you checking your Instagram, by the way.
Yeah, I couldn't control myself. But so final question for all the panelists. What is your opinion about the future of the next 5 years? Do you think point and shoots and just standalone digital cameras will die a miserable death?
I guess I'll start.
Chris,
Yeah.
please.
So I think vendors right now, obviously some of the folks here and some of the other vendors in the larger industry are probably thinking that very same question, and they're saying, what's our role in this industry? Many of those answers are going to be, we're going to maybe still participate, but we're going to take a step back and go into other industries where we can leverage our imaging technology. Nikon, I think last week mentioned in the Wall Street Journal, they're going to start to focus on medical imaging, which is something we see from Sony as well. Canon is obviously focusing on filmmaking, for instance. So I think there's going to be a lot of retrenchment. I think consumer imaging and the notion of having a high quality image capture device is with us to stay. But I think the future is still very fluid. I think there's still a role for that type of large size sensor device for an average consumer. But it's going to require a level of innovation that involves mobility and understanding the changes that have happened over the past 7 years for a lot of these vendors to remain relevant in consumer imaging.
I kind of lived the world with APC film, then film when I was at Fuji. It's going to change. And if we watch all the numbers, it's changed already. 40% drops in sales. Point and shoot cameras are gone as far as most of the manufacturers think, unless they do something different. Waterproof, GoPro style, other things that add something feature. But for the point and shoot capture device, easy to use, very small market that's out there, not something you're going to invest in. But looking at other areas like customization, people want to have their own style of doing things. You look at headsets. Traditional headsets been around forever, but when you had companies add style and color and celebrities and peer pressure, that product took off. I think the same thing's happening with digital imaging, with the mirrorless category, with different shapes of cameras, with different colors coming out, with different devices that do different kind of photography. I think those devices will survive because it offers something different than what was traditional. So standalone cameras have to change and have to add value for them to stick around as far as we're concerned. So it's all about your core products, which is the high-end photography that we're going to focus on. The innovation line is interesting. What does Canon, Nikon, ourselves, Sony, and Fuji do to compete with the mobility of innovation? What kind of products can we bring? I'm excited to see what the future is going to bring on that.
Steve?
Well, we're not introducing a sneaker line anytime soon, so we are expecting and hoping that the standalone camera business is going to continue to go well, along with the smartphone camera business and the action point of view business and so on. I think what Chris was saying before that is interesting is the diversity that's going to happen with the various camera companies. What's interesting about the diversity with Canon is they moved into motion picture and feature filmmaking with their Cinema EOS camera line. That's something to really watch because that is a huge game changer for the motion picture industry. We are very entrenched in the movie business, and what is happening is the very highest end of the movie business is flattening out, but broadening. And there are going to be more and more filmmakers because the cost and the affordability of making a movie is coming down. Martin Scorsese, in a recent letter that was published by USA Today to his 12 or 14-year-old daughter, mentioned the fact that today filmmaking can be done. Used to need millions and millions of dollars to be done. Today can be done with cameras that people can afford and editing that can be done on your home computer. That the key is about the story. And there's going to be more and more storytellers. And so what's going to happen to our industry is it's going to move up, and the smartphone business is going to fill the convenience market, and that will continue to explode and expand. But then the consumer is going to move up market. And the opportunity for our companies are going to be able to get that, help that consumer up there and capture that. Does anybody have any idea how many DSLRs are sold today? Does anybody know the number?
I know it's 24% down.
Yeah, it's like probably 13 million or something.
I'm sorry?
13 million.
13 million. And do you remember how many there were in film?
Oh, I think, what, 3, 5?
3. Wow. We're talking about a business that is quadruple the size of what it was in the film business. And we did very well in the film days as an accessory company. So people need to understand that the adoption of digital SLRs is 4 times that of the film SLR. Wow. And in order for that, and what drove the film SLR there was the innovations. First we had the Canon 81, right? And then from there we went to autofocus digital cameras, and then they moved up to easier, more point and shoot type DSLRs, SLRs, and then DSLRs came out. So the net to that is when connectivity comes to DSLRs, we're going to have a resurgence in that business. So what is today a 4 times the size business that it was in film, I think will continue to grow and foster, and our job is going to be to help that consumer move up market, to take better images and tell their stories using our products.
And Tim, last but not least.
Yeah, I think for us, like this is actually a really, it's a really tricky question, and it's a huge point of contention for really the success of what we do. With retail specifically. So you guys have we all talked about like the statistics. You look at, it's definitely not at a lack of opportunity because in 2013 they said there was more photos taken in 2013 than in the history of photography combined. So I mean the opportunity's there. But then you look at a retail channel like Best Buy, and they have this huge workbench for point and shoot cameras for an industry that decreased 40% last year. And then you look at mobile photography, and it's kind of a little carved away section in the mobile section. So it's really for us the opportunity is how do we, knowing that our part of the industry is exploding, how do we then work with our retailers to help them understand really the opportunity to keep their business growing? Because it's almost like it's kind of like counterproductive in fighting each other. So for us, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with point and shoot, but I agree, like they have to adapt and do something to really update the technology because it's a losing battle right now for them.
Well, thank you guys, and just if there's anybody who has a question for one of these 4 over here. Over there, in the back. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the insight. I have one question to you, and you all skirted around a lot. You talked about it, but you skirted around. When we're looking today at smartphones, and you say this is where the images are taken, yes, we all have seen selfies, and this is actually taken with the lower quality side of the smartphone, not with the high resolution side. That's one thing. The more important thing, I think, is the camera picture that you describe, so high-end, is replaced by video. It goes on YouTube, and that is what you're really fighting against, and you're skirting around a little bit in your answers. I want to know from you, what are you doing in terms of digital imaging when it comes to low-end video that goes on a YouTube that brings the consumer home the same experience that they had with 20 years ago developing a picture? I think that's where the real question is for me, and I want to see your answer, how you see that happening in the market and where this is going.
Well, just to think about your question, video, we know what's happened to the video capture devices. They've been combined to either digital imaging or to other products like GoPro. All digital cameras for 10 to 15 years have had video capabilities, did a very poor job of explaining how to use it. The cell phone got them excited in video. So to what our gentleman said at Tiffman, they're now wanting to be producers, filmmakers, short filmmakers, from ages of 10, 11, 12, and 13. So they're going to want equipment that they can afford now, not just the cell phone, not just the mobile device, but other equipment that allows them to create a great movie. So to your point, the second phase of the internet was sharing videos, YouTube, right? That was the explosion of the internet. First time was content. The third phase of now is sharing. So what's the fourth phase of the internet? I think it's combined. There's a thing that we learned at the Digital Symposium just Monday. It's called hybrid photography. You take a picture. Within that picture of the still, there's video. So maybe the hair is moving, maybe the hand's moving. It's an interesting way of sharing pictures that we've never seen before, because every device we look at a picture now is a phone, tablet, computer. You can have sound, video, and still. Somebody starts being creative in their artistic value with that and starts sharing that, like Instagram took off with imaging and editing. I think we'll see even that. I can't think of the YouTube popular thing that people change and they spoof. Vines, right? So the Vines is something that will now take still, video, and sound and do something different. So I think as things evolve, video is very important because it's one of the sound sites and stills. So I think it'll have a role.
Yeah, you even look at applications like Instagram introduce 15-second videos. And now that you can get iMovie on your iPhone, there's a lot of people that are shooting and editing content direct on their phone and uploading instantly. And again, it always comes back to convenience, but it's because it's so easy. And on the selfie thing, the third most common used hashtag on Instagram is actually the word me. So selfie is not going away.
Actually, I think for GoPro, they're hoping it never goes away. That's basically one of their biggest things. It's the selfies with the GoPro camera.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the day and World Cup.